Wait.
Says it was a Legend of Total War video.
Oh yeah.
What the hell was it? Ah, here it is. Okay. So I'm pretty sure he plays always on like Legendary.
Oh shit, really?
Pretty sure. So okay. What he has got here, I'll go ahead and post it in here. What he's got is 13 Brood Horrors, which is the new monster unit.
Oh, okay.
Those are the dragon thing, right?
Huh?
Aren't those like dragon-like or something?
No, they're rat guys.
Oh yeah, Legend of Total War.
Yeah, they're big. Imagine like big mole rats. He's got 13
Jesus
Brood Horrors, and then 6 Packmasters and Throt. And he uses an ability that you can give them in the Flesh Laboratory to blow up.
Wow. That's really good.
Yep.
Jeez. All right.
flashbacks of Da Boys.
yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then there was the Okoi video with 20 Packmasters where you summon in all those fucking wolf rats. Just hilarious.
All right. Well,
I haven't actually been playing it very much, but the one time that I did play, it was super fun. I need to get back to it.
yeah, right.
I've not played since I finished my Dreadfleet campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to play it again.
And now the Wood Elves are really cool. Like, they're really good now.
Yeah.
I heard their AI is a bit broken, though.
I know that
They'll declare war on literally fucking everyone.
Really?
Well, I mean,
that's great.
The thing is, with the Wood Elves, they have to declare war on everybody who's surrounding their forest, so that way they can get the settlements around their forest, so they can heal the forest. So that's why they're doing it. It's just really stupid, and they're really hyper aggressive.
Yeah, they're going against literally everyone. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
If this was me in a difficulty that's above normal, then I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Well, yeah, cheats, so it's fine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, cheats.
Yeah, it was New Wood Elves in a nutshell, and it was like the thing from Monty Python and the Holy Grail with the guy on the wall.
Yeah,
like I shall spit at you a second time.
Oh yeah.
and it's just like the little face of the new champion, but like behind like a bunch of foliage with just a tiny little sliver showing, and it's like bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then the Bretonians are just standing around outside like, the fuck?
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's great. I've seen that.
All right, well, welcome back to Table Talk, Discussion, and Discourse. I, as always, am your bamboozling host reindeer, Greydon, the worst reindeer.
I, as every year, am your sneaky Santa.
And I'm the ghost of Christmas ass. So there's no need to change my profile picture still.
You'll find a way literally every
thing.
Yep.
Every holiday, no change.
You better pray I don't find a copy of your Prince Boo profile photo.
Oh, you want one?
Because
I mean, you can have one.
Yeah, because,
okay.
I'm gonna put an elf hat on it and give it to you, Alejo, and then we can just change it. And like, if Boo doesn't like it, fuck him.
There you go, take it.
There you go.
Fuck here, big bastard.
All right.
Well, that handsome motherfucker.
So. Yeah, we're in this holiday time. You know, this one.
The worst holiday.
So we're gonna be talking about today some little things about 5e versus AD&D. The first one today we're going to be covering is brought to us by Rolerunner. Never heard of them before. Smaller channel, that's why. But it's an interesting thing because I watched a few minutes of this just to see if it was anything, and they say, hey, I've played a lot of 5e, and I'm gonna compare it to 2e because I played a little bit of 2e, and I was like, okay, interesting. Could be a nice little fresh take. See how this person goes for it, and plus it can open up, as always, some discussion about the two systems. So let us begin. Okay, this, and I'm gonna have to mess with the host thing in a second as well while this is going. But are you guys ready?
Yes.
I suppose I could be convinced.
Well, I can't convince you, but I can start the video.
Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Rolerunner and today I'm going to be talking to you about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition versus Advanced Dungeons & Dragons.
So, I forgot that it was generic YouTuber music, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Not.
I mean,
it's fine.
Not.
It's fine. It's just God. I've heard this like 1,000 times.
Video could still be real good.
Could
still be real good.
Absolutely. It's not completely tied to the quality.
I hear a xylophone and I die.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, slight disclaimer here, my hair is pissing me off today, so apologies if it's going all over the place. And also, I am much more familiar with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, or D&D 5e, than I am with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, or AD&D. So I am sure...
I just saw a piece of... This music is a fusion of jazz and funk. I call it junk.
Junk.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Very much appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Jesus Christ, that's really good.
Video. However, if you're a new person to Dungeons & Dragons, just like I am, you may find this video useful to compare both versions. Even though I'm not going to tell you loads about the mechanics because I don't know them myself, I will be able to tell you first-time experiences of both versions. So let's start off with AD&D. My first experience with AD&D was just a couple of days ago with my dad DMing. Now, I played an old adventure from the White Dwarf magazine that came out in the UK called The Lich Way. Now, it's very simple. My dad just wanted to run a very simple one-shot to get into the swing of things again, and he did. It's a very simple one-shot, one-session adventure, which is in his words, compact dungeon. Now, for me, it wasn't compact as a 5th edition player, but I'll go into that a little bit later. The main thing that I didn't like about Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, or at least this adventure, was there was very little role-playing involved. There was no plot hook, pretty much at all. My dad said there were 5 lines in this 3-page adventure dedicated to the background or why this tomb is there. And there was very little reason for adventurers to go there. Now, I was a half-orc fighter called Magagash. I was making it very simple for my dad and fellow role players just to weave that storyline into the story. Because my backstory, very simply, was that a group of goblins had killed my sibling and I was out for revenge. Quite simple. I had a feeling goblins would be in the adventure, so I knew my dad could weave it in. He told me that the goblins had been spotted near the area and that I had gone to Saltmarsh to see if anyone knew anything about it, Saltmarsh being the nearby town to this dungeon. So we got to Saltmarsh, we got in a tavern of course, and we went up to the keep called Barnumman because my dad couldn't think of any names. Who doesn't have a named innkeeper in their adventure? Like, it's the innkeeper, it's the first person you see. Why don't you have a name?
Not necessarily.
Anyway,
not necessarily.
Yeah. So I assume they're gonna go into it in a bit here, but just because the adventure itself doesn't have this, like, I would think that your father would have at least prepared some, like, or at least improv'd some anecdotal stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not entirely the fault of the adventure, I would say, or the system. You know?
Not to mention the complaining about the lack of story in a one-shot dungeon crawl doesn't really feel very valid to me, because the whole point is that you're going into a dungeon, beating up some guys, and leaving. Yeah, that's kind of it.
That is true. Yeah. If it was written to literally just be that, then it makes sense there would be not really much in the sense of story.
And I mean, it's a 3-page adventure, so
yeah, exactly. And like, to be fair as well, again, if you really want that, and if the dad had known that that was something that you had wanted, maybe he could have worked with it.
Yeah, it's not indicative of the system as a whole.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, not at all. And it also, like the way she put it, they were running this adventure, an easy adventure for him to get back into the swing of things. So maybe he just wasn't used to writing again.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So like, it's again one of those things. It doesn't seem to be completely indicative of.
And we asked if there was anything in town, anything interesting to do, basically. Anything for money. I was going, well, Magagesh doesn't really want adventure, Magagesh wants money. And my fellow players were completely new to Dungeons & Dragons, and they didn't have a particular desire for adventure. They just didn't know what the characters wanted to do. So I, being very slightly more experienced, suggested, let's have it for money, let's ask for money. So the innkeeper told us to go to this mysterious bloke in the corner. Okay, trope, but we're kind of skipping past those little facts. And he said, well, I'm an academic and I'm really interested in the Sandlanders, this historical group. And they have a historical site out there and I haven't been able to go there recently. Could you go and do it for me? And I was like, okay, fair question, but what's in it for us? Why should we help you, basically? And my dad was like stammering all over the place because he didn't have an answer. It was just, well, this guy's interested and wants someone to go look. And I was like, well, can you pay me something, or is it dangerous? And the guy didn't even know if it was dangerous. He just didn't have a chance to go. So I was going, why do I really want to go? But obviously I knew this was part of the game, so I just played along and just thought, okay, let's go. Now apparently this lack of role-playing was very typical of AD&D and D&D First Edition, because most of the time
So
it's not very
I can't speak for the written adventures. I don't know them. You know, I don't know. I haven't read many of them. In fact, any of them. I just know that playing the system also still can be exactly the same narratively. Depending on if it's just written by, like, because I was doing a 2E campaign, or an AD&D campaign. It was AD&D Second Edition, not original AD&D. But in that we had basically started as just random blokes, and then after that, you know,
then you
we
rose
had
up
the
to
cause.
You
the
rose
call
up to the rank of big knobs.
Yes, big knobs, exactly. So we had the call to adventure happen, which was like, I think it was a like big kind of flesh golem, but not made of flesh, made of just meats and stuff and bones.
Like I was expecting a flesh golem made out of like steak and ham hocks.
Right?
And
No,
shit.
it was like a butcher shop that had just like all the meat and bones in it had just like fucking animated, and it was
nice.
Yeah, and we had fought that, and then after that we found like vampires and like started. Well, we didn't know they were vampires yet, but we noticed like weirdos. And then they found out, you know, vampires. And it's really interesting, like the vampirism that it was in that setting, because I think it was tied to actual AD&D's like vampires, which was different than what people think. Yeah, it's like emotion vampires. Very strange. Yeah.
And so
I don't know.
Then
I liked it.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You guys played Ravenloft, right?
Yeah.
When was Ravenloft written?
Oh, that was originally AD&D, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a very heavily that's one's big on story.
Yeah, that one's literally considered one of the best ones because of the story.
It's one of the greatest D&D adventures ever. It has the cool. It's got Barovia, which is in a really cool situation. The gypsies that can wander through the fog.
In fairness, I believe that that was added in later editions. I'll
Was
have
it?
to double check, but I believe it first became a thing in 3.5.
Oh no, maybe yeah.
I don't know. I just know that Ravenloft, being one of the best modules ever made, started out in AD&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, quality of writing. I don't know. About most of those modules from that edition. So I can honestly assume that some of it is correct in the sense of, AD&D seemed to be very much more a rule set than a story kind of thing.
Storytelling device.
Yeah, like you could use the rules to create that story, but it felt more like the rules themselves were more of the forefront.
I see.
So, and like, there's nothing wrong with that because again, you can just create the story out of whatever. So but again, like we said before, I don't think that just because the rule set doesn't focus on the story as much doesn't mean that the system can't be story driven.
Game was just for, hey, I want to go and raid a dungeon, I want to see how I can strategically get through all the rooms and not die. Which is fair enough. It's a complete...
Honestly, actually, that is fair though. Older D&D was very much strategy, tactic, dungeon crawl.
Yeah, no, that's because it came out of war games.
Yes, yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
So, it all goes full circle.
Yeah,
because now we're you and me, we're regressing.
Exactly right. Yeah.
According to 1D4chan, which granted is not an official source, but
no, but they got good stuff.
It does mention in 2nd and 3rd edition, Vistani were far too powerful to be used as a PC race, so half Vistani were introduced instead.
Really?
Which would imply to me that they probably did not exist before 2nd. Could be wrong, still digging, but that's just interesting note.
Yeah, when people refer to AD&D though, people like, I know AD&D 2nd edition is the restructuring of AD&D, like everything was put together in more comprehensive rulebooks. Because the player's handbook was like a bunch of, like, taken from everywhere to put and make into a player's handbook, really. Because AD&D was like apparently all over the place. So
wait a minute. Sorry, this is completely off topic. Is Cyberpunk coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, no, it comes out December 10th. Pre-download started yesterday.
Ah, got it.
Gotcha.
Because I was just looking at Steam to see if what's on my wish list is on sale.
Oh, yeah.
And that I noticed that was like, oh, it's coming out December 9th.
I forgot that it was coming out on the 10th.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't know it was coming out on the 10th. I thought it was still coming out in 2021.
Apparently, it is still a fucking buggy mess.
Oh.
Shocker.
That's why I'm
game-breaking bug.
Oh
buggy
no,
mess.
Really?
Why are they still? Why they're releasing it then?
Because deadlines.
Because you can only delay a game 8 times, guys.
Yeah, right. Like so fucking whatever. Duke Nukem Forever didn't come out in 20 fucking what? Oh god, like 15? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
It's been a while. And then it was announced in 1998 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's been around. It was like in development for like 20 years. So
yeah,
like,
no, I know. It was in development hell for like the longest of any game ever.
Yeah.
They went through multiple generations of consoles.
And oh man,
and had
such a
clusterfuck.
clusterfuck.
Rebuilding it each time.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway.
A different game though to what I was used to. When we were in the dungeon, we got led there by a pack of goblins. So of course Magagash was like, oh, gotta go and kill them. And we got in there and it was this huge space. And there wasn't very much out there. We could see it was a wharf on a river, and there was no danger in sight. But because Magagash was kind of going for the goblins, she just ran straight through. Didn't really look at too much, although I was trying to be, I hope, a good role player in looking at other things for my other players who didn't have any idea what they were doing because it was their first game. We skipped out, apparently, a lot of rooms. So we found the dungeon crawl quite boring. We saw a few interesting statues, we saw some tombs, we did defeat a clan of goblins, which was excellent for Magagash, but then there was no reason for Magagash to stay there. So there was little
money,
little incentive to keep going in the dungeon. My other 2 role players apparently had objectives, but they had no idea what to do, and they found it boring because there were so many passageways of so many different rooms, which I thought personally was completely pointless. For example, in the dungeon, there was a group of other
Did you know that a maze-like dungeon is, like, with dead ends and stuff is pointless?
Yeah, and okay, so you literally just got done saying that your other role players had objectives, and that you skipped out on the rooms that most likely held their objectives.
It could, yeah. It's
like that. At least, I mean, if it's a one-shot, then you're probably going to try to work that in.
That is true, but again, I don't know how much prep her dad did.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I guess if I'm in a maze-like dungeon, that's literally where I'm like, do I have any hoping that at least one person in the party has a piece of parchment. Like, let me get a fucking piece of parchment. We're gonna map this shit out.
Chalk and rope.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
That and like you say, oh, I killed a clan of goblins. I'm good. I can go. And it's like, well, you also owe it to your party mates to, help them complete their shit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If someone is in the canon of the game risking their life to go into that dungeon and they're helping you with your goals, you should risk your life and help them with theirs.
Yes. Not to mention, you're not gonna be able to afford dinner at the inn with goblin corpses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Roland said, friend said, "Hi guys. I've seen this video before. I see you're interrupting, disagreeing a lot. Yeah. Basically, her dad's kind of game isn't her kind of game, and it isn't necessarily the system. Yes.
Yeah. We discussed that.
So and I don't know if it's just because it's her dad's kind of game. I think again, this is literally he's going completely raw, just no deviation from the book at all." And I don't know if that's necessarily his type of game. He was just using this as to get back into the swing of things, and I can understand if you just don't want to worry about the improv too much, I guess, at that point, and stuff. But again, there is something to be said about that.
There's also very much something to be said, and I'll mention it because it might have been before you got here, but one of her big complaints seemed to be the lack of role play, and it's very much more sort of combat / numbers crunchy.
Yep.
And I said, well, that's not necessarily indicative of the system as a whole, though, because a DM can absolutely work in as much role play as they need.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the players themselves can role play with each other. And I know inexperience does kind of temper that a bit.
Yeah, this was their very first game.
Exactly. So I can understand that would kind of make it so that it doesn't work as well for you, for her, right? Because otherwise there would be a lot of role play, I would assume, because I won't assume that because I don't know. But what I will say is whenever I've tried to do a one-shot, whenever any of us have tried to do a one-shot, it's never a one-shot because of the roleplay.
Yeah, right.
That's literally it. Because I every time they will just roleplay together, and it's fun, and I love, and I don't ever want that to not be a thing, because I don't want to put a wedge between.
You don't want to start for our creativity, Mr. DM.
Yes, I don't want that either. But every time I'm just no, just go. And then we get to
we want to role play.
Yeah, just no. I'm just role play, just go, just do that. And we get maybe 5% into the adventure.
Yeah.
And I'm no, this was great. I fucking loved it. I don't give a shit if we didn't get to the thing. I know you guys want to get to the thing and I want to get to the thing, but fucking you guys were talking and shit and I love that.
Yeah, right?
Right. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, does she acknowledge it? Maybe.
I hope.
Travelers who went to rescue one of their friends, I think, or something like that. My dad explained it to me afterwards, and I can't remember. Sorry, Dad. And they were, if we'd gone into that room, we were meant to see them,
Oh, there you
their
go.
friend or something
Yep.
like that. But we didn't go in their room, so we completely missed that cool role-playing opportunity. And I
So-
think that was probably poor
so
dungeons.
I wonder then.
Wait. No, hold on. Let her scroll back 5 seconds and let her finish. The sentence.
Okay, sorry.
So we completely missed that cool role-playing opportunity. And I think that was probably poor dungeon design, but it also seemed like it was part of the norm of the game that you go and explore every room in the dungeon. Because when my dad said this dungeon
Hold
was
on, pause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping she was going to say dungeon mastering, not
Yeah,
design.
not design, because like, and the design of like you go in and exploring every room. No, that's not necessarily the design. That is up to your players, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could, like, me in games in general, I like exploring literally everything. When the fog of war is a thing, I want that fog of war gone.
Fuck it.
Yeah,
Fuck the
I
fog of war.
I need it gone because I need to know that I've seen everything and gotten everything.
That is why I absolutely hate Gladius, because you can't ever get rid of that shit. It's not like in Civ where you can get
That's
the
right.
satellites.
I remember, yeah. But
We
yeah,
can get back to that sometime.
we should, yeah, at some point. But legitimately, like, that's just me as a player, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna look to my dungeon master and go, "Oh right, you wanted us to explore every room," because I don't fucking think that.
Yeah, no, I just want to do it.
And I don't look at the book and go, "Oh yeah, they have all these things in here because you can explore every room."
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no reason for you to go, "Oh no, the book says that everything's in here, so they want us to go do everything." That's you can have that be a correlation, but that's not why that's there. And yeah, like you said, if she had said it was bad DMing, because I bet she just doesn't want to diss her dad. But I would say, no, either you steer them in that direction so that they can complete what their character is literally meant to be here for, or you throw it in front of them anyway if you really have to, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, it's the simplest, the most brain dead way to do it is just go, "Oh, they didn't go here. I'm just gonna take that room and put it here." Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, again, easy as shit. But if you don't do that, and or if you like don't have the inkling to even go, "So you think that you hear like some muffled noises coming from behind this door as you run past," right? And like get them interested in it at least, maybe.
Yeah.
Like get the effort in there, you know? And again, this is only her side of this, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I would be endlessly intrigued to hear what the other players thought.
yes, that would be great. I would love to know what the newer players thought.
This is my only experience with D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to have a conversation with them so that I could invite them to my game.
Right, yeah. Do you want to
so you can kill them
Do you
there.
want to actually play some D&D?
Hey, do you want to have fun?
Do you want me to understand your character's motivations and goals and actually build a road for you to achieve those?
I'll help you build a backstory.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
As long as you're not an orphan who lost their parents and you're out for revenge.
No joke though, I have a friend I have a friend in my campaign who is that.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I remember.
I got offered twice, it's the most well-developed character.
Yay!
Nice.
Like, parents died, adopted parents died. But it's a really good character.
Hey man, you always gotta have
Hey,
the
it works,
shining
it works.
example. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, typically I would blacklist this, but like
But you put some thought and effort
But-
into
For you,
this.
I'll make an exception.
But at the same time, this is 6 pages of backstory.
Holy shit. You're telling me
Jesus
that their parents dying was like an informed thing that actually caused other things to happen later in life?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
a little bit.
What?
No way.
That's crazy.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water real quick.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I felt like some of the elements could have just been put in the same room. And for example, we could have seen those other band of travelers in the same room as we saw this eerie statue and heard this whooshing wind sound that wasn't coming from the out.
You could. You're right. That could have happened. Crazy that.
AD&D didn't force that.
No, it was like crazy that the system itself. I mean, the books. I guess the book didn't say that they were there, so it's the book's fault.
Side. However, already I've been quite critical of AD&D, but a positive from this whole experience was that you can dungeon delve and not have to think about the story. If you're a player who really just wants to go in and kill some monsters, maybe do it a bit strategically, explore all your options and not have to worry about what this person thinks, it's really good because the way it's set up is the roles are relatively simple, I found.
So, no, the way that your father set up your session of D&D is this way. Like, again, like you said, you can do this in 5e. You can literally just dungeon crawl and turn your brain off. Like, that's the thing. You could do, instead of that, you could do a whole fucking gladiatorial fucking combat where you literally sit in a room and then you wait for your turn and then you go out and you fight a thing. Like, that's...
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, like, I've done that before, too. It's like, in another session, like, I've seen other people talk about that kind of stuff, but then they spice it up and it's actually a thing.
Yeah.
But, legitimately... How dare AD&D not DM the game correctly itself? I know, right? It's the writer's fault.
Damn you, Jeremy Crawford!
Right? Yeah, like, it's exactly like.
You know what? You know what though? As ridiculous a concept as it is, I will still blame RPG Pundit for everything wrong with 5e.
I mean, yes.
That's fine. I know you would. I know you would.
Whenever I have like a poor session, I just go, "Damn you, RPG Pundit!
You fucking consultant, you."
Oh.
That at least, and you don't have to keep worrying about whether you see something or not, or the DM does it for you. It was very simple.
It's like I'm listening to the toy train underneath the Christmas tree that is just going around and the music is just playing on loop and I fucking hate it. I hate it. I'm sorry. It's been building. It's been building.
I didn't realize I fucking tuned it out.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm happy for both of you.
I've tuned it out.
It's so, the mixing is so, it's so loud. It's like, just put it in the background more. Okay. Sorry.
So can we expect more? Because like I'm kind of down.
No, it's just that's why it's called junk. I know. Dungeon crawling isn't turning your brain off. Dungeons are there for critical thinking. Modern famous dungeons suck, though. So I can see why you would say that, though. Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's a very good point.
I agree entirely. So. Turning your brain off is that saying that a lot of people will just cite for many things that are bad, right? In the sense of, you don't have to think about it, so just enjoy it, which is just not, oh my god, you don't have to do that, please. God damn it, you don't have to do that.
You really don't.
But,
I mean, when I'm enjoying Serious Sam, my brain's not off.
Right,
but
exactly.
Shit.
Like, I'm
Titanfall 2 is quite literally my favorite game of all time. You best bet when I'm playing that game, I am sweating.
Yeah, right? Like, fucking pay attention to the things that you like, no matter why you like them.
Exactly.
Alejo can verify.
Yes, that's true. It's very true. I've been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon with Brogan, and
You've been playing like a dragon?
I've been playing like a dragon, dude. It's crazy. I know. I got claws and everything. It's fucking weird. Anyway,
what's his online handle, Alejo?
It's no nat ones.
Oh,
so we've been playing that together, and like, I really like Yakuza. I love Yakuza's like stories and stuff, but every time we get to a plot point that it just doesn't fucking work, I'm like, we literally both go, "What the fuck, dude?" Like, this part in this writing is bad. Everything else has been great.
We need to find these people. Oh look.
Yeah. Oh look, they're right there. Oh my god. So like having critical thought is completely important for everything you do, as we have stated. But with what she's saying, I understand what she's saying. She's wrong, but I understand what she's saying with the sense that this could be for turning your brain off, just like 5e could be. So again, wrong, but I understand what she's saying.
The problem with that is that go into a dungeon and turn your brain off. Yeah,
Right.
let's go to the most consistently dangerous places in Dungeons and Dragons and turn our brains off.
Right. It's apparently every dungeon that you go in AD&D to this person is like, hey,
There's nothing to pay attention to here.
You go into a room.
Let's not use any strategy.
Yeah.
Let's not be intelligent.
You go into a room. Then you go into the next room, then you fight a monster, then you go into the next room, and then you turn left, and then you go into another room, and then you fight a monster.
A mobile game.
Right, exactly. It's oh god, you're right. Yeah. It's
right?
Oh, that's very accurate.
Wait, sorry, Boo, what did you say?
I said it's not like a mobile game.
Yeah,
right?
Like, legitimately, you can design the dungeon that way. Or you could take the way that the dungeon is and tweak it on your own. Or, like, anything is possible.
But who has the time for that?
Obviously not her dad. Legitimately, it's so annoying. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Agreed.
And you don't have to keep worrying about whether you do something or not, or the DM does it for you. It was very simple to understand. You went through a room, you see if
DM shouldn't be doing things for you unless, like, they're giving you information and, like, role-playing things out with you. Like, what do you mean doing things for you?
Wait a minute. Go back like 10 seconds. What?
Yeah. Alright, let's skip here.
like, it's really good because the way it's set up is the roles are relatively simple, I found, for combat at least. And you don't have to keep worrying about whether you see something or not, or the DM does it for you. It was very simple to understand. You went through a room, you see if there are any monsters, you collected the treasure or understood a puzzle, and you moved on.
Wait.
Oh,
is that what she's saying 5e is?
No, no, she's saying AD&D is this.
AD&D is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know, and it's like, also, apparently you just see if you did the puzzle, and that's not, that's turning your brain off. That's turning your brain off.
Yeah. You see a sliding thing, you see like a fucking bunch of blocks on the wall, guys. You walk over to them, make an intelligence check. Okay, right. You completed the puzzle.
Exactly, right? Is that what happened? Because that's the only way I can see that this works for your fucking
I sure
narrative.
Fucking hope not. Jesus Christ.
What was the name of the guy who set DCs for every room?
Oh, Dungeon Craft? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your father Dungeon Craft?
Oh, God.
I sure hope not. He has talked about his kids in the past.
Yeah, no, but she's clearly got the English accent. Not your Dungeon Craft is just straight up not English accented.
Well, he could have married an English woman.
He could have. You're right. Absolutely. You know what? It's not without.
It's canon now. Head canon established.
Oh no. Anyway, this is ridiculous. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Why can't we just apply all of what you've said to 5e? I don't understand. Like. What is this?
Yeah,
none of this has been specific to AD&D.
I have yet to hear an actual mechanic be discussed.
Right. I know too many AD&D players to believe this crap. This is a crappy way to make a dungeon for any system. Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you.
It was just this very modular exercise, which, for me, as a 5th edition player, as someone who wanted a bit more story and overarching background, wasn't great. But for other people who really just want almost like a board game, I suppose, then it was a pretty good idea. So now moving over to D&D 5e.
Wow, for 3 minutes.
You can tell already from the character creation that role-playing is very important in this version. You have to understand your character's background from the beginning. You get to customize what sort of spells you get, and I know you can do that in AD&D, but it felt like in the Player's Handbook of 5th edition, it was so much more on not just what your character can do, but also why your character is there, what their beliefs are. So role-playing is in it from the beginning.
So, let me just go find my 2e character sheet really quick. Let me go find it.
God, I wish I had my Player's Handbook with me right now. But...
Oh, did I delete it?
Specific religions and beliefs are never mentioned in any of the races.
No, absolutely. Well, Dragonborns, I think maybe.
Maybe.
And
Sure.
Yeah, because they
Tieflings,
usually go
maybe?
into how they either worship Bahamut or Tiamat.
Yeah, Bahamut or
Yeah.
Tiamat. So
or in add-on modules where they talk about kobolds and
Yes,
stuff like that.
exactly.
That's an add-on module.
Right, not core. But let me, if I recall correctly, and I will Google this right now, AD&D character sheet. If I recall correctly, there were spaces for like family, like genealogy, and all that shit. Like it was super in depth.
Ow, fuck.
Let me see. Now I might be misremembering that for the second edition one. So if that's the case, then I am wrong. But
Shit.
maybe I'm not. Who knows?
Maybe I am, but
Maybe.
maybe I'm not.
Maybe I am. Maybe.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe not.
No, God damn it! I forgot about that one.
Okay. Here we go. So, yeah, on the back, there's personal information for general appearance, distinguishing marks, mannerisms, patron, matron, church, guild, order, school, holy symbol, tithings. What, is this right? Am I looking at is this correct? Animals as mounts or familiars of pets. True age, appearance age. Huh? Is that a...
Wait, really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unless I'm looking at the wrong sheet. Let me...
Gender identification.
Well, there's sex, there's hair color, eye color, weight, height. So that's at least something that you can use. Companions as well. Like, yeah, I feel like... And then in AD&D, it kind of spiced it up more, I think, with more shit that you could fill in. But regardless, I don't know, man. I feel like, and I'd have to look at the AD&D book itself to see if there's, like, specific passages of, like, hey, you're human, this is how humans be in the world, because they were specifically for D&D's world, still. But, like
dwarfs.
More in depth. But yeah, I don't know. I will agree, yes, 5e is more into roleplay than it is, like, in the beginning for character creation.
Yes.
It talks about, you know, the backgrounds and stuff and all that shit, and your ideals and all that, flaws and all that. But then it goes right into the combat stuff, and it's basically just as in-depth.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm double checking on an online copy of the player's handbook. And religion is primarily just mentioned as part of like class proficiencies.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, you know, like fucking cleric.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Skills.
Beginning. Having looked at a few items on DM's Guild, there are a lot more one-shot adventures that include pages of plot hook.
Well, okay, let's talk about DM's Guild then. Yeah, that's like, you can just, anyone can post things there.
Yeah.
Like, you can put as much work or as...
a website that did not exist when AD&D was the
yeah.
main thing.
Boy.
Did you know that 5e is more popular than AD&D was?
Yeah.
I wonder why. It's like in
Mercer,
back
that's
when
why, but that's
right.
the point.
But back when AD&D was a thing, remember what the fuck was happening to people?
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, you worship Satan."
Yep. I mean, they
How
were
does
right.
time work?
No.
Exactly.
They were right, but I mean,
I know. Yeah, we were all worshiping Satan, obviously.
Yes.
But I'm like
back in the 80s when I wasn't alive.
Yeah, exactly. I was worried. But legitimately, it's like, yes, DM's Guild has very, very high quality things. I have poached a few of those just to look at and maybe run at some point because they're
son
fun.
of a bitch.
I know, they're out there for free for me to use. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
And like they have the world themselves that the one shot takes place in, and all this lore and stuff that you look at, and then you go, this is how this thing works, and then you put the players and you go, this is how things work, and they go, wow, this is really thought out, and you're like, I didn't do it.
Yeah, right.
But it's just like,
I'll pretend that I did.
yeah, exactly. But it's just like, yes, wow, amazing, we've had advancements.
Yeah, right?
Like, back in the day, people were writing their own things in their, like, notebooks, and then leaving those in their room, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't publish this on the internet. Well,
Because there wasn't one.
You could put them on, like, forums or something, like, later on down the line,
But I mean, the internet was an infant then.
Exactly. There wasn't the mainstream of, like, we can go on the internet to download other people's adventures. Like, that wasn't the thing.
Yeah, no. That wouldn't be a thing for a really long time.
Exactly. So.
And background compared to the 5 sentences of the AD&D one-shots. The dungeons themselves are so much smaller, and I think that's in part because there's so much more opportunity to roleplay in 5th edition, or the understanding behind 5th edition. I'm not talking about mechanics here, but just the kind of general perception of 5th edition and how it's meant to be played is more focused on roleplaying. So that, of course, reduces the amount of time you can spend fighting monsters or dungeons.
Interesting. What do you think about that, actually? Because I'm of two minds about that.
Well, I mean, D&D, no matter what edition you're playing, is what you make of it.
That is true, yes. And that's...
So, like,
but, like,
it doesn't matter what edition you're playing, you can make it a heavy roleplay or heavy combat.
Absolutely. What I mean is, she says that the perception of it, like, for 5e, is more roleplay heavy, whereas the older editions are perceived as more dungeon and like fighting heavy.
I would say that perception, it definitely is.
Yes,
more combat heavy. It's when you think of old school AD&D, I at least personally do think of all of the stories that people have told me about their like various combats with various monsters, dungeon crawling through 100-floor dungeons,
under mountain,
and like traps and like the lethality of that. Whereas 5e, definitely the vibe that I have gotten collectively has definitely been more kitchen sink fantasy. We went to this forest and we made friends with the nature spirits.
Yep, definitely.
I would say, however, that just because this is common perception does not necessarily...
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Popular opinion does not dictate what it is.
Yeah. Now, you could, however, point out that there are far more rules for roleplay with NPCs in 5e.
Yes, that's true.
And frankly, I'm disappointed that we are 8.5 minutes into an 11-minute video, and you know, it has so like leaves a little bit to be desired. It's a really subjective video with no like, hey, in 5e, this is how this is handled. I have not heard Thaco escape your lips once.
Oh, yeah. That's weird that hasn't been talked about yet.
Yeah, and especially for it being your first time playing 2e.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
Onto first.
The first thing out of people's mouths is, how the fuck does Thaco work?
Yeah. Even though it's still really simple, it's just annoying as hell and weird.
It's just one of those things that you got to just now think of things in a different way. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Cameron, don't forget about exploration. The third pillar is a powerful source of fun. Yeah, exploration. That is. I think that's more thought of universally though for everything. So it's not as focused on. But yes, exploration is a big part of AD&D, absolutely, as well as 5e.
Delving. So it does make sense that dungeons are smaller. Maybe this is a positive for someone if you want more role-playing, but maybe it's a negative if you're not very good at role-playing, you don't enjoy it, and you literally just want to fight monsters. There's arguments for both. For me, as a slightly more experienced, but still...
I wish you had made some of them.
I quite enjoyed the fact that in 5th edition you can roll your own dice for perception checks, for investigation checks, etc. Now maybe this was something my dad was doing with AD&D, but when I asked, can I see if I can see any tracks on the road, or if I spot a goblin's pouch or something, my dad would roll the dice. So I wasn't doing very much. The only dice I rolled was for combat. And I enjoyed it in 5th edition, where I could roll more dice to see if my character was able to persuade another.
So,
Tell me about this combat-heavy dungeon.
We've talked about it before with the whole rolling for your players for specific things, right? Like,
yes.
We were talking about, I think we were talking about with Brogan the other day of
Who?
No Net Ones
Ah.
the other day, where it was we were talking about, instead of having it roll out in the open of like you are trying to persuade this guy, right? Or trying to sense motive, right? Try to figure out if he's lying or not. And then you have a secret roll happen for the DM to do, and then it's like you don't actually know if you succeeded or failed. It's just one of those things of they give you the information.
Yes.
And then you have more incentive to stay in character and not meta it a bit. And like, I can see that being good. And I can see that being good for, like, I'm looking for a secret door in the wall here, and the dad rolls it, and then you don't know if there's a secret door or not after he goes, you didn't find anything. So you go,
exactly.
You go, all right, didn't find anything, just keep going. Like, it's a good thing to use.
Yes.
But
it shouldn't be used as that liberally, I don't think.
Well,
because people like to roll their dice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it was. That's the thing. This is unreliable because she's only given me 2 examples, and she hasn't told me of any other instances other than combat. So if it was literally all the time, then that sucks, and that's on your dad, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the system.
No, it's poor dungeon design.
Oh, that's not the rule book of the one shot that you did. I mean, I guess it could be the system a bit if he's going strictly raw. Of like, yeah, you're supposed to, but I don't know AD&D's rules, like AD&D first edition's rules, as well as I do second, because at least when we were playing second, or at least when I was playing second, that wasn't the case. You didn't do that. You rolled your skills, and then you saw if you succeeded or failed. Also, did they make any skill checks? Was that not a thing? I don't know. I need more information than this. We've now
gone
too
bad. You can't have any.
Oh, okay. Well.
Or just felt like I had more control over what I was doing, and it wasn't just random, or it wasn't just under the DM's eye. But if you're a newer player, if you don't really like dice rolling too much, and you want to just see what you can do with your own brain, or your character's brain, then
play Fate Core.
Yeah, right.
If you don't want to roll dice so much, play something that doesn't use dice that much. Like when I play a tabletop RPG, that's part of why I want to play. And like I understand there are people out there that don't like rolling dice as much. That's fine.
So
that's
weird.
fair. I understand it. I think it's weird too, but again, that's your prerogative. If you don't like rolling dice as much, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Again, I've talked about how these days I think, hey, are you proficient in this? Okay, if it's a simple thing, we don't have to worry about you rolling anything for it, because it does make less.
The thing is, that's not so much taking the dice away from people.
It's
that's
true.
That's more just saying you're good enough to where we don't need to risk the random failure.
That's true. That's very true.
Unless the player's like, but I want to roll the dice anyway, and I'm like, okay, it's the same thing where when Brogan made tea, and you got a 1, it was poison tea,
right? And then we had the scene of it,
and then it became something funny. But I said you don't have to roll if you don't want to, and he's like, I want to roll anyway.
Yeah,
I'm like,
true.
Go for it.
Very true. Very true.
But again, I don't know if that really applies. Just because
you're right. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, again, it's a preference thing of if you want to roll dice or not. And I don't know. I don't understand it, and I know you don't understand it. That it's like, why are you playing a dice rolling game where you don't want to roll the dice that much?
Yeah, it's like, why are you playing a card game if you don't like collecting cards?
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah, it's just weird to me.
I would love it to be explained. Yeah, it's true. And I would love it to be explained to me by somebody who could like make me understand it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
Perhaps AD&D is better for you because you can control that aspect, and it's not about the role-playing, it's just about the strategic dice combat. dice combat. That's my new phrase, it's dice combat. So I know I've talked a lot about my recent experience of AD&D because it was very, very new for me and very exciting to find out where Dungeons & Dragons came from, but I still prefer Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition just because there's a lot more material that I could easily find out there. There is a lot more chance to roleplay, which I really enjoy, and there's more dice rolling, which it sounds.
So let me tell you something also first before I do that. There are so many games out there, if people only looked, they would find the perfect system for themselves. Dungeons & Dragons is the Walmart of RPGs.
I mean, yes.
You're right.
It really is.
You're absolutely correct. So let me tell you something out there. Rolerunner, I think was Rolerunner. Hey, if you go online onto your lovely DMs guild, there's also a lot of shit for AD&D. There's a lot of stuff out there that people are still even writing for that, I believe. People love, like, the OSR community exists, right? Like, they love the older editions. That's their thing.
That's what they do.
And I think that they are creating content. I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure. Because who wouldn't want to, right? If you love the system, you want to play it a bunch. You want to make the things for it. That's great. That's cool.
I mean, hell, I've spent nearly 2 years writing my Call of Cthulhu campaign because I love that system. I love that game.
Exactly. Right? So, like, just because, and I understand that you like 5e a lot, but just because you have more access to it doesn't mean that you don't have a lot of access to AD&D stuff too.
Yeah, you just got to actually do a little bit of digging.
Yeah, exactly. If you really were, like, into it and wanted to give it more of a fair shake, you could do it. I promise you.
Yeah. Aiden, where are you at?
But I wanted more dice rolling as well as roleplay. So
literally
overall,
just in agreement.
I was very impressed with AD.
Once I hear something I disagree with, aside from, the video, I'll speak up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel you. You're good.
D&D, I read it, but my headspace was not in the zone for a dungeon delving board game type.
Your headspace wasn't in the zone.
Oh, so it was you. It wasn't the system.
More in the zone for role playing, and AD&D didn't give that to me, but 5th edition has. Please remember that that's just my.
I hear the small laughter from Ed. Tiny.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
Damn it, I'll have to look at that in a second. Fuck.
Not the
I'm painting my shit.
Oh.
Oh, we got one, boys. It's here. Hold on.
Yeah.
There it is. Lovely one.
Yeah.
We're fair here. We do this to everyone.
Yes, we do.
Everyone.
Everybody.
Anyway, remember Baldur's Gate? Bet you Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah, no, Baldur's Gate, exactly.
Yeah, right?
I love OSR Dungeons. I'm getting Tomb of Adventure designed for Christmas. She should check out Matt Finch's YouTube channel and see a really cool old style dungeon. Yeah, like there's also plenty of people on YouTube that literally cover a bunch of older, like, content or things that are designed for that system. Like, it's just, she's got to do the research and maybe do the digging and maybe have more than one experience. And I understand this is initial. Well, I don't even know. This is initial thoughts against the thing from one game, whereas she's played 5e, I bet, for a while now. So I don't know if there's a good amount to compare, at least in terms of experience. And not to say that your initial, like, having your initial thoughts on something is very important, absolutely. But I think that it's one of those things that you just need to have a little bit more of a better DM and also like more experience with it. I think she would find it to be just as good as 5e.
Yeah.
Maybe not just as good, but at least good.
I mean, really, the main quantifiable difference between AD&D and 5e is the updates and changes to the rules.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that, a lot of stuff is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Because
just like any game.
The structure of game creation is still the exact same. You create whatever you're fucking thinking of.
Yep.
And you go on an adventure and do whatever it is you're thinking of.
Yeah, it's just like this is what will change what has changed primarily is more gods or handling gods slightly different,
Yep.
more
Mhm.
spells, tweaks to balance among all classes, new classes,
Yeah.
the removing of certain rules such as the coup de grace,
Yep.
the
Shit was broken.
yeah, just fuck, dude. Talk about anything of substance.
Right, exactly. This is such a nothing video.
I didn't have fun this one shot, so I recommend AD&D for people who don't want to think.
Yeah,
Or have
exactly.
fun.
Right?
Dude, fucking based on your scripting, sounds like AD&D is fucking perfect for you, bud.
Oh.
Experience of AD&D versus D&D 5e. I am not an experienced player like my dad is, and I'm sure many of you out there are
Well,
as well.
sounds like he's more an
I'd
experienced
let you
player
know
than an
what I
experienced
thought as a
DM.
newbie person to tabletop role playing. Please let me know what you think of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
What do we think of the two versions? She did just ask.
Oh, I think they're both fine.
Yep. Done.
Wow. I've played both, and honestly, they're both fun. It just depends on what I feel like playing at the time.
Yeah.
Depends on how you want flow of combat.
Yep, that's true as
Like,
well.
Depends on how you want certain monsters to act.
Well, that you can change in both.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
no, you can buff and nerf monsters, but what I'm saying is like you can change it, but like if we're deciding what edition you want to play, like look at base stat block.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Thank you, Rolerunner, for giving us nothing. Very much appreciate that. Very much so.
I'm sure she's a fine person.
I'm sure. No, absolutely.
Oh,
It's not
wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, that was not
in question.
brought
Oh,
up
okay.
Yeah.
Because it just like the way you said, thanks for nothing. You know, like,
No, it's just it's
I mean,
11.
Yeah.
It's 11 minutes of Kickstarter music and faff.
God,
Oh,
it
God,
is.
yeah.
Oh my God. Just make a vlog, please. Just do that.
And please use different music.
Please. There's so much royalty-free music out there that you can just like take and use that
Why does
isn't
everybody use
generic.
the same one?
Dude, I was searching.
The oldest known emotion to mankind is fear.
And,
Everyone uses
strong.
the same
The
one.
same one. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was fucking searching before just to find like something synthwavy that wasn't like anything that people had used, and I found a bunch of like different files to put together that actually worked together. And I was like,
Nice.
yes, this
Hold on.
sounds like a thing.
I need to know if this is just the music she uses on every video.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
God, please no.
Please let me know. All right, so
They don't even use that music in the fucking 5-minute crafts.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, do they? Oh,
they?
okay.
Okay, gross. So next up, we have a bit of a more interesting thing. Hopefully,
Well,
that
we assume.
well, at least it covers something specific,
Okay.
which is good. And
I
I
like
don't
specifics.
I don't know how much more in depth he's going to be about other things, but I assume it will lead into other things because we're talking about alignment in 5e versus
boy.
alignment in AD&D.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and
what fucking jar of worms have we opened?
well, if you remember, right, AD&D's alignment system was more rigid, very rigid.
Yes.
Yes. You could
I do.
only be certain classes because of alignment. You could only use certain weapons because of alignment. You know, all that kind
And
of
like,
stuff.
if you go against alignment, there are rules for fucking docking levels.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
And like forced alignment changes and shit.
Yes, exactly. And that's things that at this point, I don't know what it was like before, but at this point, we don't worry about that if we play those kinds of things, right?
Yeah, we just don't really play with our alignment too much. We just kind of play.
Which will be brought up because I watched a few minutes of this as well. How often do you guys do streams like this? We do these Tuesdays, and then they're reposted again on Fridays for you to watch. It's Tuesday right now for us. We do this as a weekly podcast. We took the last week off because Everyone
Yes.
was dying.
Yeah, not actually.
No, not actually,
I was
but
just
mentally.
sleepy.
Mentally, we were all
And then
dead.
fucking, didn't you have a dead voice?
Yeah, I also was. Yeah, my throat was also still on the mend a little bit, but I was okay.
What happened to you? Was it just a cough?
It was literally just a temporary thing. I was really happy about that, but I just
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are going to be covering. This is Thinking About Alignment in Dungeons & Dragons D&D 5e versus AD&D by Bill Allan. He does his other things that he's done that I've seen in my recommended were he plays D&D with like high schoolers, and I think it's just like him introducing D&D to high schoolers for the first time or something. I don't know. I never watched them because I didn't really have an interest. But it seemed to be something that was popular, so neat.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so
adventurer. Nope, that's what Cody says. Is alignment important in your D&D game? Let's find out. D&D 5th edition. How do they handle alignment? Let's explore that. So here's a 5th edition player's handbook. I'm going to go to the table of contents. And where I would think that I would find alignment should be somewhere in like the whole beginning character creation thing, right? But in fact, it's not even in the table of contents. I'm going to just show you. It's not even in the table of contents. Where the hell is alignment in 5th edition? Go to the back here.
I will say, just to give you a little spoiler, that's a good spoiler, he gives page numbers. He's a good man. He's a good man. Bill Allan is awesome. He saw my friend's D&D game, and it was hilarious. He really let loose. Cool.
I don't know why I got so excited when when you say he gives page numbers.
Dude, we always want page numbers.
That was pure, unadulterated excitement.
That's great. I love that. Good.
I think it's because you usually get so fucking pissy when people don't.
I mean, it's so annoying when they give references.
Like, and it's not even like I'm trying to call you out for it. It's just a thing that happens.
Yeah, no, but it's like
cite your fucking sources,
please.
man.
It's so important.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you should.
Oh my god.
Not to mention, you're holding the book right there. It's not like you can't.
Right.
4-point font.
Which is why I'm glad he does it.
Alphabetically search for alignment. And lo and behold, I find alignment. And this is how it's listed, friends. Alignment, 122. That's one page, not a range of pages, just one page. So we go to 122, which I have bookmarked with a napkin from Portillo's. No, maybe McDonald's. I don't know. Here's what 5th edition alignments.
He's a teacher. He definitely gives the teacher vibe, like super hard.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
Actually, yeah. Now that you mention it,
says a typical creature in the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons has an alignment which broadly describes its moral and personal attitudes. Alignment is a combination of two factors. One identifies morality, good, evil, or neutral.
Wait a minute.
Good.
What did he just say?
He's a neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
correcting
God.
himself. He's correcting himself. Don't worry.
Ooh, okay, good.
Evil or neutral.
Thank God.
And the other describes attitudes toward society and order, lawful, chaotic, or neutral. Thus, 9 distinct alignments define the possible combinations. These brief summaries of the 9 alignments describe the typical behavior of a creature with that alignment. Individuals might vary significantly from that typical behavior, and few people are perfectly and consistently faithful to the precepts of their alignment. Some of you who watch D&D with high school students might be saying to yourself, Bill, I've noticed that you don't pay a lot of attention to alignment and that you don't explore it a lot with the newbie players and that you don't make it a big factor of their role playing. And that's true because I haven't used it. I also, when I've been playing characters recently, which isn't much because I'm usually a DM, but when I have played in shows like The Bard's Tale or other, gatherings that are held for gaming, I also don't use alignment. The reason why I've been a bit opposed to alignment is because I feel like in a lot of people's game settings, alignment can be too restrictive. whether it's the player interpreting it too strictly or the DM requiring players to play within their alignment too strictly. I'm not saying I don't value the concept of alignment, but I think the wording here is really important. Let me read this component, right? These brief summaries of the 9 alignments describe the typical behavior.
Yep.
I want to focus on typical. Like, Wizards of the Coast should have put that in bold. Typical. It doesn't mean concrete. It doesn't mean you always, if you're lawful good, you can never deviate from this code. Okay?
I appreciate you.
Yes.
So, I just want to throw out real quick, right? All right, no, this is thinking about alignment. Oh, I was initially going to offer some criticism in the fact that, in comparing 5e to AD&D, alignment, he starts talking about instead what he just does in his own game and that other series he runs, but it is technically covered by the purview of the title.
Yeah, and I assume it's just he's using it as an example because it's helping him make his point. It'll come to later.
Also, as a bit of a compliment, like, thank you for also reading from the book.
Yes, it's nice to have quotes. And like you said, I agree entirely. Like the alignment system now is probably the best like representation of alignment in D&D because fucking none of us follow it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can't ask someone in real life to be perfectly chaotic good all the time.
Well, so I would always go like everyone's a shade of something. Right? Because no matter what your alignment is, you have aspects of yourself in certain situations that will come out that are more of a different alignment. Like,
yes, absolutely.
It's just how it is. And the fact that you don't have to worry about it in 5th edition is great. You don't have to worry about it in any other edition except for the ones that literally restrict you from certain things. But again, the way that you play your character, I feel like it shouldn't be like I'm chaotic good. That means I like I don't know if this has ever happened, but I'm chaotic good. That means I can never really agree with the law itself. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's something that anyone has really said. I will say that because that sounds ridiculous. But I will say that there is probably the case of people going lawful good and saying they can never bend the rules ever, right? You know, the classic
that's
paladin.
Because nobody ever understands lawful goods.
Right. And it's the classic paladin conundrum of the bad paladin who literally has to stick to the letter of the law always.
It's lawful stupid.
Yes, exactly. It's not lawful good, it's lawful stupid. It is unfortunate that is a thing that can happen. But I think 5th edition kind of makes it so that is less of the case. From initial play, which is good.
Now, you know what I think, actually? I just had this thought, and I think it could be a reason as to why the alignment thing was such a big barbed wire fence in the older editions. And that is because in the older editions, when it started to become less just Gary Gygax and his friends playing in their basement, and other people started playing it, the older editions of D&D were kind of seen as a player versus DM kind of thing.
That is true. Yeah.
Most of the time. So I wonder if the alignment thing being so punishing for you changing was kind of a way to curtail players from ambushing the DM with like, oh, I make a lawful good paladin. And then all of a sudden, oh, I burned down the orphanage. I'm like, you know,
that is of the opinion that I am. I believe that's kind of what it was. It was meant to help keep people from being chaotic evil or chaotic stupid dicks all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially when in older editions, sort of as sort of a player versus DM mentality was particularly perceived by a lot of tables. So I believe that it did help to make things a bit less chaotic for the DM to deal with, as well as sort of helping curtail problem players before they begin. Because like they probably wanted to make it such that if the DM is talking to a player and they're like, "Hey, what class you planning on playing?" and he goes Paladin, the DM already knows what's basically going on with that character.
Yeah.
Instead of like, well, what sort of alignment, what sort of god were you thinking?
Right.
How do you think they handle this? What do they hate? It's more like, okay, you're a paladin, you hate undead, you're a lawful good, and a stick in the mud sometimes, and you think Bahamut is the shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
So-
I agree with you guys. Actually, I didn't think of it like that before.
Yeah, that's just an idea. I mean, hell, that might not even be the reason, but that's just what comes to my mind.
That's always been my opinion on it.
Yeah.
You're just saying that because I said it.
Yeah, sure, that's the reason why.
Individuals might vary significantly from that typical behavior. So I like the fact that Wizards they followed up by emphasizing this. But do you as players and you as game masters and DMs, do you actually understand that? Do you understand what they're trying to say here? Have you inferred the correct meaning? And my assertion is that the correct meaning for alignment is in fact a code or a moral compass or a set of guidelines for your character to generally follow, but no person is ever uniformly on their path in life.
I love you. Please come on our show. Jesus.
Some people can, just most people aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, honestly, the way I'm looking while this is all going on, I'm looking at my Tyranids and painting my Termagants.
Okay.
And I'm listening because I still have my headphones, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm listening to him talk, and I'm envisioning him like up on a podium.
He's on a TED
like
Talk
in front of a
stage.
class.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He is a teacher.
Like teaching D&D.
Yeah.
Definitely holds a book like a teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I just got that image, and I'm like, man, I hope one day that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, there are fucking formal classes teaching you D&D shit. Fuck yeah.
Officially sanctioned Wizards of the Coast classes.
Hell yeah.
Jesus. That's the word. Oh, God. That'd be
Wizards of the Coast? No. Wizards of the Land. Just everywhere.
And I mean this not just in games, I mean this in reality, right? You could be an inherently good person who believes in law and order and the importance of a civilized country,
most of us,
who sometimes breaks the rules. I do. I'm sure many of you do. How many of you have ever done a rolling stop at a stop sign when there's no
He's
other
humanizing
cars around?
himself.
Or how many of you have gone 10 over the speed
fuck?
limit on the road? Or maybe when you were a kid, you shoplifted like a piece of candy. You know what I mean? We might.
I wish he went farther. He's just like, and then maybe sometimes you just took a knife and you stabbed your friend in the,
I was gonna say, like, maybe one time you killed a guy.
Yeah, right.
And they never found out, and you're on the run still, and you're under a new name and identity.
But at the same time, like, you're on the run, but you have to keep slowing down to help old ladies cross the street. We've all been there.
Has
blue and red lights
not everybody's
start to play off.
perfect.
Yeah.
Has blue and red lights start to play off camera, and then just looks at them real quick. Camera cuts, and then
He's
it
in a
comes
new
back.
location.
It comes back. The background has changed.
Hell yeah. Oh man, that'd be great.
Just sneak that in there. That'd be great. Anyway.
Yeah.
Be good people who sometimes do things that aren't good or sometimes do things that aren't lawful, right? So I think the important thing here is that in 5th edition D&D, Wizards of the Coast recognized that alignment is valuable to guide you in terms of role-playing your character, but isn't a mechanic that they want to spend too much time on.
Yes.
Or make it too much of a focus of how the game works.
Yes.
And they go on to describe the alignments, right? But it's literally just one page in the player's handbook. Now you might be wondering, well, Bill, I'm sure that they kept it short and sweet for the player's handbook, but in the Dungeon Master's Guide, they probably vastly explored it. Guess what? I open up the table of contents while I'm researching this.
Guess what? Shut up. You're wrong.
Guess what? No.
Yeah.
There's nothing about alignment. I go to the
Well, that
index
just seems like
at
an
the back of the
oversight
book.
to me.
Not
The
the
index.
guide, and I look up alignment, and
Wait.
guess what I don't find? There's nothing.
Okay, those pauses. Like, is he actually searching? Because, like,
Think so.
okay.
Because he said he opened the table of contents as I'm searching or something.
True.
I shall search for the word alignment.
I know specifically. I'm pretty sure there isn't. It isn't in the DMG because I don't remember reading it ever. In the sense of like, it was a big section.
Yeah, I never read the DMG.
You don't. Yeah, you don't need to really, but you know.
No, honestly, you don't.
Yeah, it is in the glossary of terms.
Oh well.
Right.
Looks like we
But
have a liar.
That's different. That's different than it
Yeah.
being actually a specific
like an
section
actual thing in the book
Yeah.
to read.
that they want you to read.
Yeah.
There's literally in the Dungeon Master's Guide about alignment. So what can we infer from that? We can infer that in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, alignment is a role-playing element, but not an important game mechanic. And that's a big thing to consider. Why is that a big thing to consider? Because I'm going to take us back in the time machine. That's right, people. My 1st edition AD&D books.
Hell yeah.
Glad he understands how time works.
I'm going to compare now, and more
Compared to
importantly,
previous
contrast
candidate.
the difference between alignment in 5th edition now and how it was originally conceived in 1st edition. And we can maybe get some more meaning out of this. So let's start with the Player's Handbook. How does alignment differ between 1st and 5th edition? So you might notice, by the way, that my Player's Handbook is pink. The reason for that is, quite simply, I brought it on a road trip, a family road trip to Florida. And it sat
Wound up in the
back of
wash?
car, and the sun was so intense that it
Sun,
bleached
yeah,
my
okay.
Player's
Sun,
Handbook.
sun.
So
That's cool.
this Player's Handbook, in the
Which
table
has a
of
rainbow in the
contents,
front.
I saw
where
that,
you
yeah.
would think that alignment would be, it's not just some small subnote, but after races and classes, it's a big, bold thing. Am I pointing to the right thing?
Yeah,
Kind of
are
hard to
you?
read upside
I
down.
can't tell.
I don't know.
Alignment.
You could be lying to me,
Big,
Bill.
bold thing.
Okay.
So,
If you say so, Bill.
right off the bat, that shows that in
I don't
1st
know if I
edition,
trust you.
alignment was considered
I'm more
kind of
inclined
an
to believe him than
important
disbelieve him.
mechanic.
it's not
Let me expand on TSR's offerings here. So this is, if you have a old school Player's Handbook, this is on page 33. Alignment. After generating the abilities of your character, selecting his or her race, and deciding upon a class, it is necessary to determine the alignment of the character. Look at how important alignment is.
It's necessary.
Necessary.
I mean, they're basically saying that, like, look, you pick out your race class abilities, but then alignment, boom. Like, this is more important than hit points. This is more important than AC, than equipment. They put
True, it
it
does come
in
before it.
a forefront.
Yeah.
They put it in an important place in the
Well, I
character
mean, to
creation
be
process.
fair, aren't there
Let's
other
see.
things in 5e that are like character specific and not stat specific that come before stats? Or do stats come first now?
So it goes in the order of the book itself.
Because he's reading off the order of the book.
Yeah, you know,
obviously.
I'll go get my copy real quick.
Yeah, because I think that's
That's
yeah.
good to that's a good idea.
My experience actually, my most
I
recent
know they have
experience-
a
Okay.
Sorry, did I interrupt or something?
Aiden was talking, and you're just like, oh,
Sorry,
coming in.
Go on.
My
please.
most recent experience dealing with alignment in 5e was when I was helping some new players through the process of character creation.
Mhm.
And we chose like their classes, we chose their backgrounds, and like their backstories had already been sent, and it was real good. And then they referred to me to the top right page, or top right portion of the page after they had filled in their background, and they're like, "What's alignment?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so quick question. Like, I break down what the alignment chart is and how it works, and I'm
Yeah.
like, do you think you know how your character deals with problems? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, then you don't need to put anything in.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, then.
I agree entirely.
Fair enough.
And later on, they're like, okay, so there's the section here of backstory. Do I have to put my entire backstory in there? And I'm like, I know your character. Do you know your character? And they went,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I wrote him. And I went, so
There
why
you
do you
go.
think you need to put anything in backstory? And they're like, fair enough. And I'm
Yeah.
like, use that for extra inventory space, bud.
Yeah, true. Very true. Gygax said a lot of things were necessary, in quotes, though, but his overall point on the emphasis on alignment is right. Okay, cool. So, yeah, in 5e, the first chapter is step-by-step characters. It literally how to build a character with all the steps. It goes race, then class, and then hit points, and then proficiency, then ability scores. Like this doesn't really have it. Skills are in there with the proficiency bonus. Like,
Okay, so it doesn't seem. It seems like they've done something similar.
Here it is. Okay.
Oh.
Fourth is describe your character. Second paragraph of that. This is on page 13. Second paragraph of that says, using the information in Chapter 4, personality and background, you can flesh out your character's appearance and personality. Choose your character's alignment, the moral compass that guides his or her decisions and ideals. And then it just moves on. Chapter 4 also helps you identify the things your character holds most dear, called bonds, and flaws that could one day undermine him or her. So it is after everything else.
Yeah, okay.
Technically, if you follow it like this.
Okay, then. So it is the complete opposite now, which is good.
Yeah, which I agree with, in the sense of, at least, if you go in this way, and you have to use the book to help you.
Yeah.
Whereas, usually for me, I usually think of the character first, and, like, their personality and flaws and all that stuff before I start worrying about the thing. Or, I just don't even think about that until I've made the character entirely without even the alignment and all that stuff. So, yeah, it works both ways, I think.
Yep.
Why? It is possible that the selection of the class your character will profess has predetermined your alignment. A druid is neutral. A paladin is lawful good.
That's right.
A thief can be neutral or evil. An assassin is always evil. That's interesting. Yet, except for druids and paladins, such restrictions still leave latitude. The thief can be lawful neutral, lawful evil, chaotic neutral, neutral, or even neutral good. And the assassin has nearly as many choices. The alignments possible for characters are described below. Then, much like 5th edition, they have brief descriptions of the alignments. The descriptions are not exactly the same. They've evolved, but essentially, there are 9 alignment ranges. Now, this is the part that I'd like to compare and contrast with the 5th edition. So this is an interesting little paragraph. Naturally, there are all variations and shades of tendencies within each alignment. The descriptions are generalizations only. What can we infer just from that? Just from that statement? I think that we can read that statement and see a very similar description in 5th edition that says, look, these are block guidelines for your character's moral compass, their behavior, their belief system, but there are tendencies. There are variations. They meant it, even in 1st edition, they meant alignment to have some flexibility. It wasn't meant to be this inflexible, code that your character had to always play by.
But then I would bring up, again, the rules of, like,
consequences.
Yeah.
For
It's kind of goes directly against that.
So
granted, DM can ascribe some leeway, sure.
Yes.
However, raw, no.
Yes,
No, not at
exactly.
all.
Right, like, I think the intention is there, sure, but unfortunately the intention is also not there for that.
Yeah.
The descriptions are generalizations only. And then it goes on. A character could be basically good in its true neutrality or tend towards evil. It is probable that your campaign referee will keep a graph of the drift of your character on the alignment chart. Now I'm laughing because like keeping a graph of someone's ups and downs on an alignment chart is very much a crunchy, like old school mechanic thing. Like people, like I would never keep a graph of that. That's ridiculous.
Guys, I'm gonna have to start keeping a graph on you guys.
yeah, dude, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'd rather
chaotic evil, every single one.
I would rather you make a pie chart, please.
Well, I'm thinking, yeah.
Who is how much evil?
And then whoever is the least evil gets fucking kicked out of hell.
Yep, there we go.
This is affected by the actions and desires of your character during the course of each adventure and will be reflected on the graph. You may find that these actions are such as to cause the declared alignment to be shifted towards or actually to some other. So maybe there's a mechanical reason to keep the graph because they're saying that if you played out of character or out of alignment enough that you can actually shift alignment.
Yes.
Now that's an interesting concept. There's no discussion about that in 5th edition. If you make it a paladin who's lawful good and you consistently weren't role-playing that character lawful good, what is the DM supposed to do? Just accept it? Or just ignore alignment altogether because they realize that it's too messy? Or do they say, hey, you haven't been role-playing lawful good, you've been really role-playing more like chaotic good. And based on these adventures and what I've been keeping, and this graph that I've been keeping, you are now chaotic good. So what?
A lot of people choose to take the rules literally in the ways they want to. We all know how popular negative YouTube videos are. I've never been surprised that people assume the worst part of rules to be the truth. Yeah. So, and like I get what he's saying, like the fact that there's no talk of it whatsoever in 5e is both fine and like it doesn't really take away from it, I don't think, because again, the way that alignment is presented in 5e is so inconsequential that it's like, does it really even matter to keep track of what you like? Yes, it would for something, it would for to an extent, and I think most DMs just take that into consideration naturally in the sense of like, are you a good person? Okay, if you start just doing evil shit, you're not that great a person anymore, and the gods probably don't think you are either, right? Like, or like the people in town don't think you are either. You start getting a reputation, you know, all that kind of stuff. It is less mechanical and more just inherent just to how everything works, regardless of the system.
Yeah.
What's that do? What's the point? So in 1st edition, there's actually a block paragraph called Changing Alignment.
It's a bit rough.
I know that you can't smell things on video, but for those of you watching right now,
Which
I just
maybe
want to
you
tell
can.
you, this book has seen some time.
It's like those things of like you can't hear pictures or whatever. It's like, no, I know what you're smelling. I get you.
I'm sorry, Brad. You just didn't steal enough this week. Guess you're neutral good now.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah. Like,
so see, what you do, right, is you make that actually reflected in game.
Yeah.
By having it be so
You have to keep
like
the
thugs come up to you and give you shit for not like paying your guild dues or something as a rogue, and then they break your knees, and then because you're hobbling around, you're actually de-leveled in rogue.
That would be bullshit.
That's such
oh my
shit.
god.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
It would be a laugh for a little bit, but then I'd be like, okay.
It's like, okay, enough of that.
Yeah.
It smells old. It smells like when you're in a library and you find an old book and you're like, it has mythos. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I haven't. This is fun.
Mythos,
this is a fun
what?
video for me. Guys. Just
not-
as like a meta
not
moment.
what that word
This is a
means.
fun video for me to do because I have not busted out these books for any actual practical reason other than dusting them off in the shelf in a long
That's
time.
sad.
So it's kind of fun to go
Yeah.
back to this. All right.
Glad you're
And
doing this then.
maybe it's no coincidence because this year marks the 40th anniversary of my playing D&D.
Oh.
So
Whenever this was
back
put
to
out, I
changing
don't know.
alignment. While involuntary change of alignment is quite possible, it is very difficult for a character to voluntarily switch from one to another, except within limited areas. Evil alignment can be varied along the like axis. The neutral character can opt for some more specific alignment. Your referee will probably require certain stringent sacrifices and appropriate acts, possibly a quest as well, for any other voluntary alignment change. In fact, even axial change within evil or good, or radial movement from neutrality, may require strong proof of various acts. Further voluntary change will be even more difficult. Changing back to a Forsaken alignment is next to impossible on a voluntary basis. Even involuntary drift will bring the necessity of great penance. So the fact that there's even a paragraph block about changing alignment is pretty significant. They thought about it. They must have play tested. They must have had experiences in their adventures, in their campaigns, where people shifted from good to evil or lawful to chaotic or
I mean, he has a point in the sense of like, this is AD&D, so in regular D&D they had the issues that I also now assume that you guys brought up of like people would be doing random shit or something. But I don't even know, because like in the first edition, wasn't alignment also still tied to this kind of stuff?
I believe so.
It's been a long time since I've looked at first edition rules, like actual first edition. I've been running a Star Wars game lately. The light side and dark side are very defined in Star Wars. So far, my players have embraced that and utilized it for role playing. Cool, yeah, absolutely. Like, it's one of those things where, you know, KOTOR. Now that we're talking about Star Wars a little bit, KOTOR has that alignment kind of thing where if you're doing good stuff, you get better light side stuff, and you do bad stuff, you go more dark side stuff. It's like Mass Effect's thing of like Renegade Paragon and all that. Like all of the alignment systems that are out there, having the standard of being the good and being the bad, very easy to then go, I'm still good, but I'm also sometimes more gray, you know, in the sense of like, wow.
Okay. Counterpoint, however.
Oh.
Also within the Star Wars universe, do also consider the morality and sort of moral ambiguity present by the two best characters, Rey and what's his fucking face, and their will they, won't they?
No, shut up.
Will Rey be evil?
She never would. Like that was never even.
She's too good of a character.
But consider, though, how many people were obsessed. And that means it's good storytelling.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yes.
I forgot. Masterpiece.
Yes.
Form of changing alignment. That's a recognition. This is my inference now. That is a recognition, in my opinion, that they understood that it wasn't realistic for a player to have to consistently play an alignment for a character without any deviation. And that furthermore, in some storylines, it might be more interesting to see that. And I think we could all think of some stories from books or movies where somebody had a fundamental life experience that changed their alignment, changed who they are, you know?
Sure, yeah, no, that's the thing that happens all the time.
Hell, the Joker.
It's just, yeah, absolutely, yeah. There's that, but like, so regardless of that, though, yes,
there's the punishment side of it.
Yes, exactly. Like, regardless of all of that, yes, you can make the inference, and I think it's a very valid one to make, but again, punishments occur when you go too far out of that, and you have to enforce those, unfortunately, in that system, unless you don't use that, which is fine. But it was the intention to enforce that kind of punishment because the rules were there.
Yes. Because you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't put a rule in a rule book if it wasn't meant to be used. Because book space is expensive.
A good who was really put through something traumatic and then just became evil, or somebody who was fundamentally lawful and law-abiding, who went through some epic life-changing experience that exposed them to a different kind of perspective, and now they're kind of more chaotic or
I watched
entropic
Endgame.
or
I know.
whatever, what have you. I think there are plenty of heroes and villains who go through these alignment shifts, right? So I think it's just cool to see what the originators kind of envisioned with first edition AD&D regarding alignment, but this video is not done.
Oh, good. I would
I
hope not.
briefly mentioned mechanics.
Ah.
Alignment. Now, here's where I start to get a little bit salty, let's say.
There we go. Okay.
Because, yes, in a way, they understood that alignment from a role-playing perspective needed to be flexible. But then they went and made a whole bunch of mechanics because remember that, D&D was derived from and created by wargamers. They were naturally people who liked lots of rules and crunchy, number crunching stuff, right? Mechanics. So they created a lot of mechanics about alignment as it impacted magic and equipment, specifically magical or enchanted items.
Absolutely. If alignment needs to be used in your game, why not have the table choose the alignment for each character after the first session? Just an idea I had. So this is the thing that I would say for that.
I would say no.
Yeah, no. I feel so having a group vote on something to like have them all give their opinion on what they think the alignment might be, sure. If you really want to put a label on it. I don't think it's necessary to really put a label on it because again, like we've discussed before and like Bill has even said, no one's perfectly on that line, right?
Yeah.
I would just say, hey, you have Magdor, the dwarf. He is Magdor, right? Like he will act as he does, as it would make sense for him in the moment. Regardless of whether or not something has happened. And it will make sense, at least, hopefully, if they've taken into account how that character thinks, how their backstory has shaped that character. And alignment is something that someone else would look at that character and say, oh, they're this in that instance, right? And they could, if anybody were to take that snapshot, you could have somebody characterize that guy as chaotic good, whereas later on, he completely takes a guy instead of, like let's say Magdor takes this bandit to his hideout and starts torturing him for information. I would call that chaotic good if it is for,
Do bear in mind, though, that is... we're already past the point of having selected alignment for that character.
Yes.
Like you're talking about something more along the lines of an alignment shift.
No. So what I'm saying is, regardless of what their alignment was, when you picked it, they in any one moment you could look at their actions and have a different perspective on what their alignment is. So regardless of what you chose, if somebody saw this Magdor take that guy and go torture him for the information of how to save the king's daughter, right? They would call that chaotic good because he's trying to do that. But the action itself was maybe more evil, and so they go more chaotic neutral. But again, I don't know. I would call it chaotic good in that instance. But then you go see Magdor fucking take the next bandit and just turn him over to the guards, and I would call that lawful good. Right? And so it depends on the actions more so than what the alignment the person was assigned in the beginning. Right? So after the first session, once you've played with that character and you figured them out, you already understand how they're going to think at least a little bit better, if not entirely, for the future. And then after that, you go, okay, they're going to act like this, and you just have to remain consistent. That's about it. Like, you don't have to worry about labeling it. You just got to be consistent with how your character would be.
I would say, in general, having the table as a whole vote on sort of an alignment that everyone will play and stick to.
No. I don't think that was the intention of the question. I think it was...
Even if it's not stick to.
Yeah.
then my point still holds.
Yeah, sure.
You're so much of the beauty of roleplay between characters is seeing how different thoughts and ideologies can kind of clash, especially when both are trying to accomplish the same goal. And I think that you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot and potentially missing out on a lot of great intercharacter roleplay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I believe that the question was more just the table tries to figure out every individual character's alignment by discussing it and like choosing which one it would be.
Oh yeah, and in which case, sure, you can do that. But
you could, but
we're still at the issue of why does what 2 letters I write down in the corner of my character sheet matter?
Exactly. That's and that's what I was trying to illustrate with the snapshots of Magdor.
And this is where I start to get annoyed, because I remember being a player and being like, well, why can't I use that sword? Because you're good and the sword is evil. Who cares? It's a sword, you know? Now, if that was an element of role-playing, if the DMs at the time had said, okay, go ahead and pick it up, see what happens, and then I become gradually, like, my mind is poisoned by the suggestions of the evil sword, you know, or my soul is tainted somehow.
Always good.
That would have been a cool role-playing experience, but those things didn't happen. A lot of times, the way I saw alignment being implemented or used in games with regards to equipment and spells was just kind of like a, you know, putting up a wall. And that, even as a kid, I recognized that wasn't cool. Okay, so, let's get into the mix. The DM's guide has a whole bunch of stuff about alignment. Alignment describes the broad ethos of thinking, reasoning creatures. Pretty cool. Again, even then in first edition, they're saying the broad ethos. Those unintelligent sorts being placed within the neutral area because they are totally uncaring. I don't know about that. Note that alignment does not necessarily dictate religious persuasion, although many religious beliefs will dictate alignment. As explained under alignment languages, this aspect of alignment is not the major consideration.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's right. I forgot about like lawful good, the language.
Is my fucking favorite thing.
Oh my god, you just start
You get forcibly changed from your alignment of lawful good to like chaotic evil or something. You just you start fucking babbling.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
now you
weird.
can speak that language.
That's so strange.
Yeah, it was
This
so
creature
stupid.
Speaks evil.
Blink dogs speak lawful good.
I guess I just speak the black speech now. Neat.
Yep.
God damn it.
The overall behavior of the characters, behavior determines actual alignment. Wow. Let me reread that.
Please.
We're experiencing some revelations right now, people. The overall behavior of the character is delineated by alignment, or in the case of player characters, behavior determines actual alignment. That's pretty deep, because that's them recognizing that a player could choose an alignment, but that their overall behavior can vary from that, and then that behavior and actual role-playing should determine their true alignment.
Right.
Let's continue. Therefore, besides defining the general tendencies of creatures, it also groups creatures into mutually acceptable or at least non-hostile divisions. This is not to say that groups or similarly aligned creatures cannot be opposed or...
Sorry, Pete. Oh my god, it's the Sith language written on the dagger from Rise of Skywalker. I can suddenly speak it and read it.
Jesus.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. Oh yeah,
I never saw that fucking
the
movie.
dagger from they just had it randomly made into the key so that we could figure out that this was where we needed to find the fucking... Sorry, not holocron. I was gonna say holocron. That's not right. I don't remember what it was. Dyad? I don't fucking know. Who cares?
Yo, dude, you ever piss someone off so much that they start speaking a different language?
That is unrecognizable? Man, crazy.
or even mortal Two nations, for example, with rulers of lawful good alignment can be at war. Bands of orcs can hate each other, but the former would possibly cease their war to oppose a massive invasion of orcs, just as the latter would make common cause against the lawful good men. Thus, alignment describes the worldview of creatures and helps to define what their actions, reactions, and purposes will be. It likewise causes a player character to choose an ethos which is appropriate to his or her profession, and alignment also aids players in the definition and role approach of their respective game persona. With the usefulness of alignment determined, definition of the divisions is necessary. Written like a true tech manual. That was very dry, but yet informative. Okay, very logical. Major divisions. There are two major divisions of four opposite points of view. All four are not mutually exclusive, although each pair is mutually opposed. Law and chaos. The opposition here is between organized groups and individuals. That is, law dictates that order and organization is necessary and desirable, while chaos holds to the opposite view. Law generally supports the group as more important than the individual, while chaos promotes the individual over the group.
I love that portrayal
It's
of
very
chaotic versus law.
Yes, it's very good. What were the two gods in Elder Scrolls? Or Daedric princes, excuse me.
There's a fucking lot of Daedric.
Yeah, there's
no,
like 13, aren't there?
The really notable ones for literally law and chaos. In Oblivion, I think you have to.
I know. Well,
Mehrunes Dagon?
No. So okay. Really, the answer you're asking for is not the Aedra and the Daedra, but really
No.
Anu and Padme.
No.
Anu represents order and stasis, and Padme represents Padme is Sithis. What you're probably thinking of is Sheogorath, the god of madness, and Jiggalag.
That's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. Thank you.
Fuck, I hate that. How effortlessly that came.
That's why I was asking for you. That's why I asked it out loud so that you would tell me, because I forgot.
So, however, though, calling Sheogorath the god of chaos isn't technically true.
Okay.
I would in fact just say Anu and Padme are your better representations of that, because Anu represents nothing ever changing, everything staying as it is.
Oh, really?
And Padme is constant flux and the void, but also weird new permutations of life, and they have a whole yin yang sort of thing going on.
Gotcha. Nerd.
Yeah.
Good and evil. Basically stated, the tenets of good and human rights, or in the case of AD&D, creature rights. Each creature is entitled to life, relative freedom, and the prospect of happiness. Cruelty and suffering are undesirable. Evil, on the other hand, does not concern itself with rights or happiness. Purpose is the determinant. There can never exist a lawful chaos or an evil good.
All the pauses are very teaching.
These and their reverses.
Give them time to write.
Yeah,
you gotta give your students time to write your shit down.
I was gonna say, I'm taking notes.
So then they go ahead and they describe, in the same way that the Player's Handbook did in all the editions, they describe the 9 basic options, right? Neutrality, neutral good, neutral evil, lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil. Each of these cases for alignment is, of course, stated rather simplistically, and ideally, for philosophical and moral reasonings, are completely subjective according to the accumulation of the individual.
Yes.
Now remember, this is the DM's guide, so this next passage is important.
Okay.
You, as Dungeon Master, must establish the meanings and boundaries of law and order as opposed to chaos and anarchy, as well as the divisions between right and good as opposed to hurtful and evil. You as the DM, you as the Dungeon Master. So see, here they're putting it on the Dungeon Master. So players have an obligation, if they're using alignment, players have an obligation to use that as a guideline for how to role play their character, their moral approach, their beliefs, their perspectives. But the Dungeon Master also has an obligation, if you're using alignment, to propagate that in the world, to populate the world, whether it's individual creatures, groups, organizations, whole kingdoms, whatever, right? So they go on to say,
well, okay, so before we go too far away from that, that's already kind of like that's still the case in 5e. It's just not under alignment, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's just kind of inherent that people are gonna act the way that they act, and so you just come up with the world, and the factions in it, and what's good and what's bad. Like
like when I was building my material plane, I did come up with some characters, and when I was coming up with their stories and their deals, I didn't give a single thought to alignment. It was just how they are, what they do.
It is interesting to see it being used from alignment standpoint, but I don't know if it's absolutely necessary. Like obviously it's not, because we've been doing it for a while, but like it's one of those things that it's just really strange to see it, because I would never think of two warring factions being like what their alignment is. I just think, why did the war start?
Yeah, you're just thinking the actual logical reason of why the war started, not that they were either good or evil.
Right, exactly. And like, yes, sometimes it is just these things are bad and they want to kill. Right.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the VC or the vampire counts, my bad.
Oh.
Yeah, for a second, because I've been watching the fucking Welcome to Astalia, Gentlemen video a few times lately. Because it's one of the best videos ever. And I was like, the VC vampire counts, and so, it's the Empire versus the fucking vampire counts. The vampire counts are fucking evil. So
they just want to kill things and raise them up as zombies. It's crazy.
Yeah, so that's their reason. And that reason to the Empire is evil. So
yes, exactly.
That kind of is a really cut and dry, they're evil, we're not evil, go fuck them up. Welcome to Astalia, gentlemen.
Well, don't you know, though, that if there's a war that is breaking out, there is always a good side and a bad side. And the good side is the country you live in.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like
America will teach you.
What I will what I will say is that I'm glad that the examples in that he read out were sometimes lawful kingdoms can go to war. Like just because like
differences.
So
food.
It's because one kingdom's law is different than another kingdom's law. Like they're not always going to be cookie cutter kingdoms. And vying for power is not against a law, really, unless you're now, because that's bad now. No go for power, bad thing. No more colonization. Stop. But that was because that was bad, because it happened a lot, and there was a lot of war, and maybe less war because of that. And so again, it's one of those things. Very, very interesting, very weird at the same time to just highlight that. But I'm glad that they also have the, like I said, the examples of similar alignments going after each other, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Padme Amidala.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when he said it at first. And I'm like, oh. It's like, okay, I'll listen. Give him time to explain
himself. Lawful societies will tend to be highly structured, rigid, well-policed, and bureaucratic hierarchical. Class, rank, position, and precedence will be important, so they'll be strictly defined and adhered to. On the other hand, chaotic areas will have little government and few social distinctions. They go on here. Alignment continues on for another 2 pages. They talk about alignment with respect to the planes. They talk about graphing alignment. So the reference they made about the graph. See Player's Handbook, Appendix 3, Character Alignment Graph. Okay, let me bop back to that. This should be funny.
I thought you already looked at the graph.
No, he talked about the graph, but this is actual rules for the graph.
Oh, okay. Oh.
There's the graph. So you don't have to make your own. You just photocopy this back in the old days, and then the DM could just kind of
do little plot points in it, just like they're starting to go here.
That's amazing.
I love how they have the neutral alignments.
Yeah.
put you, where you should be, and then make little notes of your behaviors on this graph. And maybe each character would have one of these graphs, and the DM would secretly keep track of it behind their DM screen.
Man, can you imagine, like, how do you quantify the shifts?
Yeah, right. That would be really funny. Like, actually, if we were playing in a regular campaign where there was no real fuckery going on,
yeah,
and we were all, if we were all playing and we had these graphs and we were just doing them with each other just for the hell of it,
out in the
like
thing.
not to actually have any effect on the game, but just to see how we rank each other.
Right. Because like
that
it's
would
just
be amazing.
I put a little point where I am. Okay, cool. This is me now. I stole a piece of candy. I move it slightly, like I make a micro point.
Well, here's
next
the thing,
to it.
though. How poor was the shopkeeper?
Exactly,
who
right?
Did you steal it from?
Now we have
because
to think
if it's
about
from like a child, then I'd say that's I'd say that's chaotic good.
Did you swap the labels on gummy worm and sour worm? That's chaotic neutral.
Holy shit! Right? Yeah, it goes super. You now have to analyze it super hard. It's crazy.
It'd be really funny.
And again, you make those little micro changes, and then oh, you killed the guy that was bad. You now put it up closer to good, like a big jump, and it's oh, now I can be bad some more. Yay! Very weird.
You get to earn good boy points.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
points. Oh, no.
Or good points.
Oh no! Oh god!
Honey Mussy. And by that, I mean murder and pillage.
Yep.
Oh my god!
Not too far off.
Fuck, that would be a lot of fun.
That would be
we need
fucking
to get that
weird.
chart. We need to get that graph, dude.
Yeah, right.
Now, that might be your jam. You might be like, holy crap, first edition had it going on. They know what's up. That's what I'm going to do. Then
I
do
love
it. That's
micromanaging
cool.
my
Remember, my
alignment.
general philosophy is just because I've been doing this for a long time doesn't mean I'm always right. And everybody can run what they want, however they want. That's how they wrote it. I mean, here's proof, man. So use this or don't use it. I mean, it's cool that they came up with it. But obviously, 5th edition took a step away from the importance of alignment because there's even more alignment language. What? This is craziness. Let's read this.
Please.
Alignment language is a handy game tool which is not unjustifiable in real terms. Thieves did employ a special cant. Secret organizations and societies did and do have certain recognition signs, signals, and recognition phrases, possibly special languages of limited extent. Consider also the medieval Catholic Church, which used Latin as a common recognition and communication base to cut across national boundaries. In AD&D, alignment languages are the special set of signs, signals, gestures, and words which intelligent creatures use to inform other intelligent creatures of the same alignment of their fellowship and common ethos.
See that? I've never read that.
Yes, sure, but guess what?
Yeah.
A person who's bad can still learn Latin.
Yes, exactly, right? There's that, absolutely. And having it explained like that, then it makes it so that it's oh, this isn't a language, this is just hand signals and all that. That is itself a language, but it's learnable.
It's communication, not so much my word for apple, my word for lol is now kek.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's not a foreign language that no one else can know. It's much too easy now. I like it better when I just started speaking like Mordor. Wow.
Yeah, right. I want to speak the black speech.
Yeah.
Black speech just out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And so you know the other funny thing, the since technically anything that is that alignment can speak that language.
So weird.
So a blink dog, which I don't think can talk. That's the thing.
No, they're intelligent, but they can't talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe they can talk, but they can still speak lawful good.
Yeah, that's true. That would be weird.
So they just bark it, I guess.
Well, I guess they would use their tail to
sign language with their tail.
Yeah, and then like
oh no, you know
charades?
what they do? They would blink around so fast that they would spell letters with the light they leave behind or something.
Spelling
I don't know.
with blinks.
Yes. And then it would look like a smiley face, and you know that
Yeah.
it's a good boy.
Happy. I wonder what that means.
Where my nuggers?
There's a game, I forget what it's called, but the basic premise of it is that you're trying to figure out what happened. It's sort of like a puzzle solving game.
Okay.
It's a video game, but you have two lenses with which to interact with the world. You have the objective lens, which is just a picture of what's going on, but the picture is like lo-fi and shitty.
Oh, okay.
And then you have the
subjective.
Yeah, you have the subjective lens, which contextualizes what's going on based on emotion.
Oh.
But based on what actually is it's meant to be in game. It's meant to be an app of how you interact with the world.
Oh, weird.
But the people who designed the app did so really shittily, and they're like, yeah, I couldn't quite figure out the AI of what happy means, but like a puppy is like wagging its tail and running up to you is something that's happy. So like sure, I guess that means happy. And it will result in things like the father and the mother danced in the foyer, and what you will have in the objective lens is like these two amorphous blobs on a grainy black and white like film thing, and when you swap to the subjective lens, it's like a sun with like a train set like circling around it super fast, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
I love that. Oh, dude, if you find out what that is, I want to play that now. Really
I'll see if I can find it. There's one of like a father sitting down and ordering pizza.
Okay.
And like the subjective thing is like there's clearly a phone, but the father's head just turns into a speech bubble of like a pizza in a car.
Oh,
that sounds fucking amazing. Oh, I need it.
That's honestly starting to sound a lot like fucking Flight Control or whatever that game was. Game, quote unquote.
90s, unlike Ewoks, Blink Dogs can blink. 2020, why is that Ewok blinking? I'm entirely too stoned to hear about this. Well,
do you think Ewoks can't blink? It's current year.
Alignment languages are never flaunted in public.
That was the thing. Yeah, that was the thing. Alignment languages were supposed to be secret, always. You never use them in public.
If you're good?
Yeah, that was the thing. It literally said you never flaunt them in public. And I'm like, how does that make sense? I don't like the point of it is to be a secret language that other people can't understand in public. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that like the thing?
Well, because every single other lawful person on the street will understand that you are lawful.
Oh no.
It goes on to describe how alignment language works, credentials, not using it in public, how it's constructed. So I vaguely remember sometime in the early to mid 80s playing with alignment languages. But I don't think that at that age, even with older brothers DMing for us, I don't think we implemented that. So I'd be curious if there's any of you old grognards out there who, started gaming, started playing D&D in the 70s or early 80s when you were in college. Maybe you were able to implement alignment languages in a more useful way. I could see the value if role played well, but my own spin on it, how I would do it differently, is instead of just being like, I speak lawful good, I would actually have some, like a religious, maybe there's a religion that uses this old dead language that nobody uses anymore, kind of like Latin, or like Aramaic, you know what I mean? Like some dead language that's ancient, but they still, like, you know, this religion that follows this specific alignment code, they use this language. I would make it more organic to the game because
that's what I would do as well.
Because like this is why I like using Thieves' Cant the way that I do. Because I stole it from somebody else who does it well.
How do you do it?
So you know the homeless signs, the hobo signs that are used. Yeah, I use those. Those are Thieves' Cant.
Fun fact, actually, those vary wildly based on which portion of the country you're in.
Yes, and so I have my own set that I use. That mean what they mean, and so people that are thieves know that can't, or at least rogues know that can't.
I typically do something similar actually, in that I lift shadow marks from Skyrim.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and it'll be something like someone will have like a glass pane window or something.
Yes.
And it will, like, the iron bars in it will be of the shape of guild friendly or something.
Yep.
One of the ways that I would interact with using an alignment language is, again, make it that kind of ancient language.
Sure.
But if you are going up against, the way I would do it is I would have some organization that you guys are supposed to fight or interact with using that language, and you need to learn the language in order to, like, intercept their communications and stuff and figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't allow you to just level up, take linguist, and learn it.
Sure.
And the organization has actually, like, destroyed the majority of the actual tomes and shit that actually contain the language, and they teach it orally only to their own members. And so what I would do is, there is a thing in Final Fantasy X where if you go around the world and you explore enough, you can find these I forget exactly what they are, but they're basically these sites where
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you can learn either a word or a letter of the Albed language.
That's right,
and
the Albed.
The whole time you're playing the game, if you ever encounter someone who speaks Albed, it's not even displayed what they're saying in subtitles until you start learning the language.
Yeah.
And if you learn the whole language in another playthrough, you can do a new game plus, go back through, and now you understand the language and you can see what they were saying the whole time.
Yeah, no, that was a cool element.
Yeah, and so I would have this kind of like side adventure thing where you guys are going around the countryside, like, it's like, oh man, there's these ruins that were built by blah 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 civilization. Maybe we can find more knowledge of their language there, so we can try to intercept, whatever.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I would make it its own plot element.
Yeah, that would be super cool. I love unlocking the Albed language, says Cameron. Yeah. It was probably one of the coolest parts about 10.
Yeah.
So
I hated 10, and even I admit that that's a really cool part of the game.
I don't like 10, so
yeah, I know.
That, and like the other thing about it is, like, it seems like they were using alignment languages to give you just secret codes, right? In the sense of, like, and like, basically what we do now is we just go, these people know this, and if you somehow learn it, then you can intercept messages or, like, talk to people in that organization. Like, it's literally, if there's, like, a secret handshake, or you have to wear certain colors to approach this person to talk to them and actually be let into, like, the organization, or you have to carve certain, like, inscriptions on your door so that when people pass by, they can, like, like, things that are in the world that you could potentially find and learn that you can then use, instead of having it be just tied to your character's alignment.
Yeah, right.
Just
and
so
I mean,
strange.
hell, if you wanted to use alignment language within your own party just to have a secret thing, all you got to do is say your characters are all part of, like, a military unit or something. Who knows? Or they're all part of the same group. All you got to do is, if you guys choose characters that have a free language of your own choice, choose sign language, and then just all of you choose sign language.
Absolutely.
And there you go. That's it.
There was a race in 3.5 that was from a plane of chaos, I think, that had no gods or anything. They worshipped the fundamental ideals of like good and chaos and all that kind of stuff. Like that's how they had clerics and shit. And they had tails, and they looked basically like your stereotypical devil, of like feet that have hooves, pointed horns, not wings, I don't think, but they had the tails that were long and had stuff.
So tieflings.
Basically, but not
maybe a proto tiefling.
It was, because tieflings in 5th ed are now that, whereas tieflings in 3rd were just people that had maybe 1 or 2 marks that were different, right?
Yeah.
But these races, they had a tail, and one of the things about it was they had their own special language that they could do with their tails. And their entire race knew it, and they could teach it to other people who had tails, so that you could do that. Yeah, there was stuff like that was really neat.
Or at least teach people who didn't have tails, like how to understand it.
Yes, exactly. You could understand it. You could only speak it, quote unquote, if you had a tail. Very cool.
Yeah, I have something in that dumbgeneering sort of mini book I made about in party mechanics. I just looked it up, but basically, like, if you're in combat with someone, you don't want to shout "rush him," because then like the person knows they're getting rushed. Shouting "blueberries," they don't know what the fuck that means.
Yep.
And I recommended, I have a whole fucking list, but I recommend every party, if they're going to be concerned about like needing to speak in code. Here it is. I definitely recommend follow, stay, we're being followed, and act natural.
Yeah, coming up with terms that the group understands, absolutely, like in general, just to have that kind of element. Very cool. Speak Pig Latin. Hey man, you'll fool some kobolds, I promise.
I think it's just like, I speak chaotic evil. That just sounds stupid, doesn't it?
Don't forget fly casually.
All right, then they have a whole section on changing alignment, which again must have been a big deal because they're recognizing that that would happen. So, kind of an interesting thing. Let's contrast for a moment.
Yes, please.
Your 1st edition books definitely spend more time discussing and exploring and explaining alignment, without a doubt. Like, it's just on the real estate, on the paper. There's literally more like word count in 1st edition than in 5th. That's one major contrast, right? The other major contrast would be like mechanically, 5th edition doesn't really have a lot of mechanics. The spells don't affect alignment as much anymore. The equipment isn't as encumbered by mechanics for alignment, whereas this stuff definitely was. I mean, just basic spells. Like, there used to be like detect alignment, or now the detect spells are a little more broad in their interpretation. There used to be like protection from evil, protection from good.
That's still
whereas now it's just kind of more protection. So it's a little more broad. So this definitely had more of a focus on alignment, more mechanics related to alignment, and more guidance about how to integrate alignment into the game. In other words, in the early days, they considered alignment really important. And they wanted you to use it. They wanted you to use it in the game, and they felt like it was valuable enough to explore. And over time, and different companies and authors and community feedback, alignment's not as important here. So where does that leave us? I don't use alignment a lot, because typically what I do is I have a character concept, and now with 5th edition, when you make your character, you have things like your ideals, your bond, your your flaws, all those kind of things that help
We also don't use.
further define.
Yeah, right.
Incorporating your background, your class, your race, that help further define your character. Do I have a problem with people using alignment? Absolutely not. No. But do I feel a need to incorporate it? No. I think the actions of the players as they're playing their characters sort of determine that, don't they?
Since he's kind of I agree. Since he's kind of winding down, the only thing that so far that I would really have liked him to kind of go into more, also like he mentions it briefly every now and again of like the weapons, but to give an example of it would be good.
Yeah, because I guess like a paladin sword or something.
I remember there were some weapons that were specifically for specific alignments. That was a thing. I know that for a fact. But again, like it's not like I don't know it. It's just that I think it would help with just giving that example a little bit.
Yeah. But here's my question. How did say you guys are playing in a campaign where you're all devils.
Oh, okay. I'll think about it. Hold on.
Yeah, and yeah.
Okay.
Say you stumble upon a paladin sword.
Okay, right.
Why would the DM give you that? If you're all established to be lawful evil.
This is the thing, right?
Yeah.
A sword of a paladin is just a sword.
Yeah. No, okay, well then, okay, let me rephrase.
Please.
You come across a weapon that only a good character can equip. How about that?
In that case, I would go, that's fine. I'm going to take it and I'm going to go sell it.
Exactly.
Right?
So, I don't really understand what the issue is unless it was something that came up in a random dice roll.
Well, this is the other thing. I would also go, can I corrupt the weapon? Right?
No.
My initial actually question earlier with you can't use that sword, it's a bad sword, was my thought was, yeah, but can I purify it?
Yeah, exactly, right?
I'm literally just thinking of the Thorn quest in Destiny 2.
Yeah. Exactly. It's literally like this is the other thing of, can I bless this? Can I corrupt it? Can I be blessed or corrupted by it if I start using it? Like he said before, right? I feel like if you because this is the thing, I wouldn't think that you would go, that's a blessed sword, right? You would give us context of like when you touch it, it hurts or burns, right, or something like that. You feel it emanating heat and like it's hotter than you like would want to touch, stuff like that. And like I would go, okay, but if I use it, is it still like a good sword? Can I use it? If it hurts me even a little bit, can I still just take that damage or whatever, or like maybe even a minus to my attack or whatever using it, but can it still be like the good sword? And then if I continue to use it, will I then act more like a good person because of it? Right? So like I feel like that would be more interesting than, I can't use it because it's good. Right? And that's what he was talking about before as well. So.
Yeah, it's that kind of strict it's like that not wavering at all.
Yes, exactly.
And I think one of the reasons, aside, I don't know if he actually went into it. I may have missed it during my time painting my my termagants. But I'm surprised that he didn't mention all the arguments that come up because of alignment, and how that can be a very real reason as to why they've tried to dial it back a bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because a lot of the times in the olden days, where you have the actual mechanics where, you're good, you're acting too evil, you're going to become neutral, lose a level.
Right.
And then the whole thing spirals out of control with the guy saying, oh, no, you don't know how my character is.
Yeah.
This is what he would do. It's like, no, you're supposed to be good. And it's like, no, but blah, 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 blah. And then the whole, 16-year-old gamers trying to solve the puzzle of the human condition. Trying to be psychiatrists.
Yeah.
And that's honestly probably a really big reason as to why they tried to dial it back some.
I think that definitely would have added to it, yeah.
Yeah, because that was such a, if you post, if you ever look up, an alignment chart image on, Google, Star Wars alignment chart, or Lord of the Rings alignment chart or anything, literally anything,
So
I guarantee you that you will eventually find one that you're going to disagree with and disagree with hard.
Yep.
Because, yeah, and that's just because of the nature of alignment.
Yep.
Because when you start codifying people's personality with 2 words, once you start labeling people, then it becomes
there's room for error.
Yeah. It starts becoming God, I don't even know the word. You don't like it.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah, because people are more than 2 words. They're multifaceted.
Absolutely. I agree.
It's that time. It's exactly what you said before, where people, generally you're a good person, but there's times when you can get pissed.
Yep. There's snapshots of your life. There's different things. The DM could have a sentience awaken due to the change the characters are attempting in items, because yeah, you could, I guess.
Ooh.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Sentient magic items are always fucking fun.
Yeah, no, they're super fun. But now, God, that's a good idea. Bad guy picks up a good sword, and then now you have this battle of wills between the 2.
Yeah.
And maybe the evil guy is like, hey, we're not doing all evil. We're trying to do something. Try to convince the sword to work with you. Fuck.
Yeah.
Cool. It's kind of like a hex blade, except you're not immediately on the same side.
Yeah.
Or kinda.
Those arguments have been some of my favorite intellectual conversations. You really learn about what your friends are like when you argue about alignment. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's something that I would say to do outside of D&D.
Yes.
Like when you're at the table,
do it with people that you're not going to offend.
Yes, absolutely.
Do it with people you trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the table, I think it's you're kind of just going to hamper the game down, obviously.
Yeah.
You're going into philosophy. And, I'm all for going into that shit. But, again, I want to play the game right now,
Yeah.
But, yeah, absolutely. Outside of the table, those are really cool.
Yeah.
And if you think our show, D&D with high school students, frequently the actions of the characters, especially in 2nd season, are described as murder hobos. And I would say without a doubt, they perpetrated many evil actions.
War crimes, probably.
Oh, did they?
I don't know.
Yeah, they did.
Oh.
Without a doubt. People could easily make an argument that they are chaotic evil, but I don't think that their overall tendencies are evil. Chaotic, yes. They absolutely had no regard for the law. So on the lawful to chaotic spectrum, they're definitely chaotic. I would think that maybe they're more chaotic neutral. They're selfish, which, they're high school students, so what do you expect? All right, well, I hope listening to this rant, this exploration about alignment. Use it, don't use it, it's up to you. But you know what? Leave some comments below. Let me know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Bill. That's a good
very
video.
Good video.
I like that video a lot.
Yeah, very good.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's alignment.
In depth. Sources cited.
Yes, pages numbered.
He is definitely a teacher, a professional.
Yes,
an academic.
I love it. For us pseudo-intellectuals. It's so good.
Pseudo-intellectuals? I watch Rick and Morty.
I am actually a man of science.
No, I know. I'm just...
He's a man of science. You know how to use a 3D printer, and I watch Rick and Morty.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That's the whole spectrum.
Oh, there's a spectrum, all right.
Oh man.
Oh no. Ooh, yee. Anyway, so those are the only videos that I had really prepared today for this, because unfortunately, looking for AD&D versus 5e videos, there are actually a few others for 3.5 that I do want to go over at some point, and 3. They're also, Boo, you'll be excited, at some point, we're going to talk about the dreaded edition.
Shit!
We're
talking about the fucking Eldritch Knowledge. I have those books.
We're in season 3, so it's time to start pulling out some stuff.
It's time for the fucking evil organization arc.
It's because I saw
out of the high school arc, we're out of the Onsen arc, and now. Oh wait,
wait. I found a couple of videos that were talking about how 4E is better than 5E. Which
but hey,
yeah, it's not. I don't think. But I'm interested to see how those are. So those will be in future.
Yeah,
not.
I mean, I guess I could start reading those books.
Oh, if you want to put yourself through that again.
I mean, I own them. It's
I
fine.
know.
Yeah.
But at some point that'll be a thing. Gonna do 4E. Let me grab my crowbar. Down the line, it's not gonna be immediate. It's just it's gonna be at a point. Yes. But actually, I think that'll be a good place for us today. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one, but I think it's a good one to start off on.
It was a good one, though.
Yeah. We only had some vapidness. That's all.
Yeah. A little vapidness goes a long way.
Exactly. It went for an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah. Obviously, go check out those channels and support them if you feel like they have better content. It's good stuff. I definitely would recommend, just from the first impression of this channel, for Bill there. If you haven't yet, go check him out. So I am now slightly more interested to see how he runs things for that high school group, because I feel like I understand how high schoolers act. I'm interested to see how he deals with how they act, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else we want to go over before we kind of wrap it up?
I feel pretty good about what happened here today.
Oh, that's a first.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
No, it's not.
I know.
I don't really have any summary points to mention, because it's what we discussed was fairly straightforward.
Yes.
And I don't know, I feel typically the need to summarize something when I've said a lot, and most of this podcast I've just been yeah,
no,
So-
it's true. One of the few ones where you don't talk as much. Man, it's crazy.
God, we're approaching season 3.
Oh my god.
Yeah, right?
I mean, we're in it, boy. We're in it. So yeah, I guess overall, thank you for watching, listening, everything. As now we are in season 3, you can find us on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time doing this live on our YouTube channel. It's crazy. Wow, you should subscribe so you know more. And then it's posted again on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then again on Mondays on your podcasting service of choice as the audio-only version at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The links in the description are all there. You can see them on your screen as well. The Twitter and then everything. I haven't posted on the Instagram in forever, but people keep following it, so I probably should. So, but yeah, please give us your support in any way you see fit. And thank you again. Really.
Yep.
It's been fun. So let's get out of here, boys.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye now.
Bye.
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 Leave.
Bye. And
Yeah.
why are you here?
Go.
Goodbye,
go.
Pizza Funk.
Goodbye.
Cameron.
Goodbye. See you, Cameron.
Bye now.
Bye.
This is us telling you to leave the stream.